Hi golfers, Rob Cheney here from GOLFTEC Singapore. Welcome to another video. This week I'm going to show you the swing from a slightly unusual and unique angle, in the sense that we don't see it from this side very often. I'm going to be putting the camera at the target and shooting back towards the golfer from the target line, looking back. So that should be interesting, help you to see some of the stuff that's often hindered and covered by more typical camera angles, more common camera angles where you don't quite see what the hands and the club are doing on the follow through. So today we're going to tackle that part of the swing. Come join us. Okay, so you join me on the mat. I have the grid on the ground. Some of you will be familiar with this from previous videos, I'm sure. I'll get into that detail a little bit more in a second. And then we've also got the camera in front of us here, which is going to give me, or give you guys the opportunity to see the swing from this side, which is quite unusual. You don't often get to see the swing from this side. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the travel of the club and the hands, and how the grid looks on this side of the swing. So often we talk about hands in being the description of how the club moves around the golfer, and very often that hands in conversation is exclusively discussing the backswing. I know I've done that a lot on previous videos, but today I'm also going to get to see how hands in also applies to the follow through as well, to an extent where the golf club isn't traveling in a straight line. My motivation for this video this week is so many students I see, when they come to me, they're trying to hit the ball straight. They try to swing the club straight down the target line. They try to swing their hands straight down the target line because logically they think it allows them or gives them a better chance of hitting the ball straight. And whilst I certainly understand that logic and subscribe to why someone might think that, it's actually misguided, and I want to make sure I clear up that point, that golf is not played on a vertical plane. These clubs are not built straight up and down. If they were, we would swing straight. Club, head would work up and down this vertical plane. But the golf clubs that we all play with are bent or on an angle. And as such, that means we play golf on a tilted angle. That angle, somewhat, especially at the bottom of the swing here, applies to how that shaft sits at address and how it works around the golfer. So there's a lot to be gleaned and learned from understanding that a straight swing is not one where the club head and the hands go straight down the target line, but instead is one that conforms to the grid, with the club head arc and the arc of the hands moving upwards, inwards, and around the golfer on the follow through. A simple analogy that I sometimes use to explain this to golfers is as to say, if you were to stand upright with your spine vertical and held the golf club out in front of you and swung it around your body, you would most likely, very instinctively, swing this golf club around you in a horizontal plane, in a horizontal fashion like so. And then to turn that into a golf swing, you'd simply have to create the tilting to the ground, which would be the knee flex change, the hips tilting, and then the shoulder going down towards the ground. That's how the golf swing is in simple terms. If you don't conform to the grid, you're effectively not conforming to this arc with your arms and the club, and that would look like this. If you stood upright and swung off the grid as such, or off the plane, you would actually just begin to randomly start lifting your arms or swinging them down around your waist. And I don't know anybody that would choose to do that. No one would do that just by pure choice. They would stand up in a horizontal plane with their spine vertical, and they would swing around themselves. Tilted to the ground, that's a golf swing. And the same thing applies going through on the follow through. If I was to turn or rotate around this vertical spine and then tilt myself to the ground, that would produce the alignments I'm looking for in a good follow through. And I spend a lot of time helping golfers with moving the club from P7, which is impact, and teaching them how to move through to an effective P8 position where the shaft is parallel to the ground. Notice how the club and the hands have continued to trace the arc. Also notice how my head has stayed kept its inclination to the ground, so my spine angle, if you like, this inclination that I create with my spine stays constant. You see how my backside stays on the wall, so to speak. Again, there's no early extending or raising up out of my posture. So learning to stand up, turn, and then tilt yourself to the right for a right-handed golfer puts me into this condition where my shoulders are still tilted the appropriate amount, as are my hips, and it allows the rotation of my hands and club around my body to now be on this plane or this arc that I'm looking for. That was a nice little push draw. Notice where I finished there, my arms and hands continue to move around me. Club finishes around my body, okay? I'm not trying to swing my arms straight down the target line. A good checkpoint for you if you're viewing this swing, either from this unusual camera angle or from a more standard down the line camera angle, is that the hands and the club head exit your body in about the same place around mid bicep, or sort of the top half of your torso. That's a pretty good checkpoint that you've got the club swinging around you. If you have, and notice you have the club exiting much higher, or your hands exiting much higher on the follow through, you're going to be liable to be swinging too much out to the right. That's going to create more potential for pushes and hooks. If, on the other hand, you notice that your club exits lower than the point I referenced, your hands exit low, that's going to signify that you're more likely to be swinging out to in, and therefore you're going to be much more prone to pulls and slices. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful, visually interesting and educational for you to understand how the golf club and the hands should move around and conform to the grid and the arc on the follow through as well. If you want to give that a try, just practice some dry drills at home or at the driving range, for those of you able to get to the driving range at the moment. Try that without the ball. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to learn the motion from impact through to arm and shaft parallel with the ground. If golfers started there and understood how to move their body, move their pelvis, tilt their spine, move their club around them on the grid, they would be so much more consistent players in the long term. Unfortunately, that lesson, if it's ever received, is often too late, and many golfers never get to the point where they understand how to do that piece of the swing properly. Consequently, they spend the majority of their golfing days swinging erratically across the ball or too much from in to out. So I hope that's given you a little bit of clarity. Do take some dry drills, have a go at seeing if you can get your golf club, your hands and the shaft to orbit around your body as I was describing and conform to the grid. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. And as always, guys, until next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you for another video next week.